My name is Somar Danso, National Coordinator for Activista de Gambia. Activista is a youth-led civil society organization that works with women and young people to eradicate poverty and all forms of discrimination. At Activista, we believe that in order for us to effect changes, there must be inclusion, one. And the other thing is we must be able to build the capacities of young people to be able to make informed choices in terms of issues affecting them. We believe in shared learning and also volunteerism. Our areas of intervention includes governance, human trafficking, migration, climate change, and gender-based violence. Focusing on climate change, we believe that climate change is a global concern that needs to be addressed. At our level, we believe that in order for us to make effective change, we must be willing to build the capacities of our community members, which of course focus on the rural Gambia.
So the Gambia as a country largely depends on agriculture for employment and as well for our food basket, which is highly affected by climate change. So in summary, climate change affects the major drivers of our economy in this country. Thereby, it's a threat to our progress and development as a whole.
Our intervention areas is to make sure that we are able to inform our citizenry, to have a basic understanding of climate change. Many a times people feel that climate change is a natural phenomenon that is destined by God. But in reality, when you make a reflection of yourself, you begin to understand that climate change is mainly because of our own practice as human beings.
Assessing funds is basically one major problem in the fight against climate change. And as well, the mindset generally, most people will tell you climate-related disasters are natural issues that happen and then no human action can actually change that. So there is still a difficulty in dealing with laggards, basically people who are not easily subjected to change. And sometimes, of course, when you have governments that really do not act in accordance to the environmental laws they have in our country, that becomes really difficult.
And in the Gambia, the leading cause of climate change includes massive cutting down of trees. Considering the practice that we do in the Gambia, the type of farming that we do in the Gambia, people normally grow groundnuts. And considering the groundnut, it requires a large hectare of land. And that land actually means you have to cut down a lot of trees. We use those trees also for charcoal, for firewood, and so on. Then you have another thing that also focuses on the economic growth, that is illegal logging, and so on. So all these things actually contribute to the destruction of our natural environment, that we feel that we must actually talk about it. And every year in the Gambia, you also notice that there is bushfire. And these bushfires also contribute in the destruction of natural environment that, of course, have an impact on our communities.
Our vulnerability indexes are going high. If you look at it, intergenerationally, many years ago, the Gambia used to have almost 2,000 to 2,500 millimeters of rainfall. But now we are about 800. That tells you that the SIP is really high. Saltwater intrusion in our freshwater ecologies used to be about 100 meters and now it's over 250. So that tells you we are very vulnerable, and then the future requires immediate actions by all actors and all people living in the world, because it's not just the Gambia, because climate change does not know geographic boundaries. So therefore it affects the whole world and requires global attention and action immediate.
The impact of these practices leads to community climate conflicts, erratic rainfall that we are seeing in our communities, desertification, and also increased rate of poverty.
Here we are talking about climate change, which is significant of a crisis in this part of the world. And for sub-Saharan Africa and Gambia in particular, we are very vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, which includes sea level rise leading to beach erosion, and as well losing of our sandy beaches and infrastructure along the coastline. As well, we have saltwater intrusion into the freshwater systems, thereby affecting our agricultural production and productivity, and heat waves and other related disasters that are actually coming as a result of climate change impacts and global warming.
As Activista, we believe that in order for us to be able to combat this, there must be a need for us to be able to engage our community members. That is why this year alone, we were able to go to more than 25 communities. And each of these communities, we are able to train them on the causes, effects, and the impact of climate change, one. But we also look at agroforestry when it comes to food security and self-reliance, because we believe that in order for people to be able to move away from the practice that they are currently doing, there must be alternative opportunities for them to be able to shift to other practices that will at least provide them with the self-reliance and food security. That's where the agro-business comes in. We also encourage communities to engage in community gardens, agroforestry, community forestry, and so on. All this will actually help communities to be able to have an alternative so that we will be able to protect our natural environment.
How do we fight this? There are a lot of actions championed by young people and government. So both state actors and non-state actors are actually seeing what we can do collectively to fight against climate change by reducing our emissions, and of course to see how best the Gambia can be, a climate resilient society, and of course reduce our carbon footprints. By tree planting, by discussing with communities, by initiating projects that definitely restore our destroyed ecologies, and to build the resistance and as well the capacity of the people to a point that the resilience of this country could be a little higher.
In addition, we also have engagements with policymakers, because engaging the communities is one, but focusing on the policymakers will also enable us to be able to change the legislation, to be able to push for fair land deals, for us to be able to push for a land policy in the Gambia, because considering the fact that there is no land policy in the country actually contributes to the high rate of land grab and also land conflicts in the country. So we believe together we will be able to work with the policymakers so that there will be sound policies that will address climate-related conflicts, especially focusing on land usage.